when the amount that you get from the body is not enough, you can supplement it with its counterpart from the cannabinoids.
Marvelous.
It is marvelous.
And thank you so much for your testimony and
You're
your
welcome.
time, and you're a humanitarian. You're coming forward, standing in your truth, going to help a lot of people. Thank you.
So. You're welcome.
Everywhere you turn, there is someone talking about CBD right now. The hard part is when you're looking at the effects of CBD on the body, there's only so much that can really be talked about. You see, there's a lot of censorship because it's so close to cannabis, it's very difficult to talk about CBD. So what I wanted to do in this video is I wanted to break down the science of how it truly works in your body. I want to do this because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I also feel like we need to understand that endocannabinoid receptors in our body are a natural thing, and endocannabinoids are a natural thing that are existing in our body. So in this video, what you're going to see is ultimately an overview of what happens inside the body with endocannabinoids, with different adenosine receptors, with different serotonin receptors, glutamate, dopamine, all of these actually make your body go round.
We're playing the recording of the thing about cannabis oil, and I've been doing some research in that particular area, and that is a miracle herb, yeah, and people don't want us to know about it. And as I say, if you take it for about at least 30 days, just 2 drops a day, especially those who got cancer, that all you have to do is take it twice a day. Make sure you drink a lot of water, fluid, and stop taking the poison in your body. You know, things like sugar, all kind of sweet stuff. You know, and eat as healthy as you can. More fruits, more veg, more water, a lot more water. See, make sure you fast when you can. You know, do a bit of fasting and take the cannabis oil. You guarantee you reverse, you know, you'll be cancer free. But I mean, what is it to lose? See, so you've got to be constantly, you know, working and pushing and promoting your thing about health. So that is why, you know, we have to be very conscious when it comes to health. And as I said, that we live in the most advanced, you know, in terms of technology, is so advanced that you can literally speak to someone on your mobile phone and they can watch you, and you can watch each other on your mobile phone. You know, gone so advanced, you never thought that anything would happen about 20 years ago. See? So what is that that, you know, we have to be conscious when it comes to health. You know, if we're so advanced, why is it today they haven't found a cure for cancer? Why is it? Why? You know? So it just shows that they're not interested in finding a cure for cancer. You know, they want to keep us dumb, stupid, bamboozled, confused. And while they're confused, they're making money out of our ignorance. So that is the you know, the time we're in right now, and we have to understand exactly what's going down. Okay then, just trying to adjust the mic level, so if you see me in and out, we're just trying to work out the mic levels then. Okay.
and let spirit direct the flow. Life is good. Life is fun. Life is great. This song is done. I am healed, whole and healthy. I relax and visualize. I am healed, whole and healthy. I am well, I am well. I am healed, whole and healthy. I relax and visualize. I am healed, whole and healthy. I am well, I am well. I am healed, whole and healthy. I accept and
So as I said earlier on that we was talking about
I am healed, whole and healthy.
the whole thing about cancer, and as we said, you know, they're just hoodwinkers, bamboozers, and making money. And the whole thing about cancer. See, so we really have to be conscious. And I myself now, I'm working now. More information now about the cannabis oil. You know, the more I'm going to share with other people, encourage people to take it, especially those who's got cancer. It could be any stage. Take it at least, but do your research. A lot of stuff online, so do your research and take it at least twice a day. You know, and you know, you don't have to have cancer to take it, but you know, still take it at least once a day or once every other day, etc. Okay, we have Jammarsta in the house, and they be touching a little bit about the whole thing about family, very shortly. And you know, Jammarsta is a wordsmith, probably one of the best in the world, with rather scholars, with jammers would talk about who I highly respect. You know, he's a scientist when it comes to think words. My man study words upside down, inside out, give it a feeling what the words mean, and whether the words thump you in the chest or make you cry. Then man, as a science when it comes to the thing about words, we might understand this thing here. He never stops doing his research, and you see the key thing is that, you know, people must do their research. Don't take everything what's being said by me or whatever, you know, because where do I get my information from? And to be honest with you, all I do, I do spend a little bit of time online, right? And I might read some information, but I try to learn those who are the best out there, or those doing the most research, you know, than what someone's opinions about certain things. That can't cut with me. See? Okay then, so gonna have Jammarsta coming in very shortly. Yeah, Jammarsta will be coming in very shortly.
Boom, greetings to Bless. Check, yep. Greetings to the Bless Radio, the family, Raggedy, all the presenters. Just sorting out the dynamics. And greetings goes out to the listeners, whether home or abroad. And today we're going to continue with what we started at the Speakers Club Awards, which is regeneration the child. I'm going to leave the family aspect along. It's such a big topic. What I'll do, I'm just going to start with a little aspect of it. And the first aspect, what I'm going to start with is regeneration of the child. Once we get these dynamics sorted out, I think that's a lot better. Right, yeah, well, I'm going to make it as best as I can. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. Right, regenerating of the child. Right, what is regeneration of the child? We had it at the Speakers Club Awards. Let's go into it now. The word regeneration. Let's deal with the word regeneration and look at the etymology of the word regeneration. The word regeneration is a combination of sounds. The first sound is re, meaning back. So regeneration, re means back. Gen is a Greek Latin word meaning to produce. So re means to go back. Generation comes to the word gen, to produce. So basically, when we're talking about regeneration of the child, what it is countering what's happening with today's child now, where the child is learning destructive behavior. Today's children are learning how to destroy things, how to break the fabric of culture or humanity down, you know, with the video games, you know, with the books, with the movies, you know, with the fashion, you know, it's a destructive behavior that our children are subjected to from the cradle to puberty to adolescence to young adults. You know, they're bombarded with negative images and images that are counterproductive of how to conduct yourself and optimize your potential. So basically, when we're talking about regeneration, we're talking about bringing back the productive child, bringing back the child into a state where they are utilizing their potential and optimizing their potential. So basically, when we're talking about regenerating the child, we're talking about bringing back the child as a productive child, not a destructive child. Right, what I'm going to draw some information from is you know, the templates are already there. Is the handbook for raising black children by Dr. Lala Africa. So I'm going to take a excerpt from there because this is something that we've got to deal with, because at the moment the parents now have left the children to the schooling system, you know, and they're giving out their child to a schooling system, and what comes, the child goes out in the morning and what comes back in the evening is a psychopath. So now we've got to get into terms of, we want to regenerate the child. What do we have to do? The first thing you have to do, as Dougie said, you've got to go to the correct sources of information. You've got to go to the correct sources, you know, to find out, you know, what we need to do, because look, there was 5 youths that was stabbed this week to death. You know, 5 youths stabbed to death this week, and almost of methylated youths stabbed to death this week. You know, so, you know, it's something now that we have to take into account. We have to get our hands dirty now. We have to step forward and start initiating a productive strategy for getting our youth back into a productive state and not a destructive state. Do you see that thing in the papers, Dougie?
What was that?
About 5 youths killed, knifed this week in a week. Yeah, 5 youths knifed in a week, you know.
In a week?
In this week, yeah, 5 of them, you know. And we're talking about young, 17, 15, 16, you know. And also there was a 38-year-old stabbed, you know. So we really have to look at this. So basically, when we're talking about regen, which we were talking about with Saraseti, we had a lot of talk, Edison, and we initiated the discussion with Dr. Abu as well, you know, and yourself. We're talking about putting the child back in a productive state, not a destructive state. So the source of information one is Dr. Lala Africa, that I'm going to take an excerpt for today. And if you haven't heard of Dr. Lala Africa, he's a holistic health practitioner. He's been in the health profession for over 40 years. His background includes working as a social worker, psychotherapist, group facilitator, community organizer, nurse, and naturopath. And now, Doug, you're one of the first. You are the first person who I know who brought over this great giant of, you know.
Okay then. Well,
Give us a little insight to this man.
okay then. Well, initially, the first person who really he's been Dolaf's been over here many times. A few years ago, well, I've seen a DVD of him. Well, they're not DVD. When they cassette tapes or whatever. In the 80s, I think it was in Birmingham or Manchester, one of them places. I just saw, right, and I said, "Why it's come?" I think that must be in the probably early 90s, probably 90s or even 80s. I'm not too sure, right? But I know it's an old clips, right? And I know that he's been over few other times. But to be honest with you, I didn't know Africa then. I think I might just heard his name, but I didn't know nothing about the Africa. It's only the last 5 years, right? Probably 5 or even 6 years. How I really got to get to know Africa is really through brother Emmanuel, who had a shop down Centerprise. And them time he was organizing a thing called World Book Power, stuff like that. And every year they have a big conference, and they bring over people from all part of the states, Africa. And I remember one time I was bought Africa that time there, right? And I was able to, get to hear what to say, speak to him, and also at the same time bring to different radio station. And I was so impressed with him. I said to myself, and then the more you get to hear him, because don't get, he was the when it comes to health, he was the main person in health. Anyway, I don't want to go on, but to me personally, Africa is the best in the world by far. When it comes to health, understand the science of health. He understands it, and about the family and things about relationships, and he's come from a holistic African perspective. But he's, one. If you just listen to what he has to say, you know that to me, he's one of the best out there. Okay, then I know you got some. So you want to play?
Yeah, and as I said, what we're saying is when you do look any research into something, you got to check your references. It's just like if you're gonna get a plumber, you're gonna get a recommendation. It's gonna take any plumber to fix your plumber. If your car's broken down, you're gonna go to a recommended mechanic or someone's told you about. You're not just gonna go to any old mechanic because you're gonna end up in a worse position. The same as a doctor. If you're not well, you're gonna go to a doctor who's been recommended to you. So at the same time, anytime you do your research, you got to check the references. Check. You can't just take what somebody says without checking are they qualified to say what they're saying. So yeah. So basically, what the subject of this matter is a regeneration of the child, bringing the child back into the productive state. And source of reference for today is Dr. Lala Africa. Once again, he's been in the health profession for over 40 years. He has a doctorate in naturopathy, a diploma. He's certified addictologist, certified acupuncturist, massage therapist, and a licensed traditional healer in Ghana, Togo, and Benin. He's essentially self-taught in holistic sciences. Dr. Lala Africa is an author, teacher, lecturer, practitioner, and historian. Lala Africa lectures and teaches certified classes with his wife, Dr. Melanie Stevenson, and you've met his wife as well.
Yeah, Melanie Stevenson.
How is she? How do you find her?
She's good, very good in fact.
And the classes of a wide variety, such as holistic nutritional counseling, anatomy, physiology, massage, needleless acupuncture, ethical midwifery, hypnosis, holistic nutrition, holistic sex, relationship, holistic skincare analysis, and touch diagnosis. So the man is a genius when it comes to, this is the people we've got to look for you know, to help us with a solution to the epidemic that's taking place with our youth. So what I'm going to look at this today is one thing that we have to do when looking at our children is understanding the black child's spirit, mind and body. Your child's mind, spirit and body has different growth stages at different ages. That means it has changes, that your child has changes in the personality, changes in the mood swings and change in behavior according to the age that it's at, you know. And the thing is, you have to let your child develop naturally, because the thing is that if the child's moods and change, because the child's just getting used to being who he is, if these changes are interpreted and defined by adult logic, so basically when your child does something, if you're applying your adult logic to what the child's doing, and you interfere with what the child's doing in a certain way, you're going to cause a negative effect of bonding with your child, because your child is just learning about its environment, and you come with your adult mind and interpretation. You're not going to be able to bond with what your child's doing. You've got to try to go down to the child's level, allow the child to develop, rather than you just come and analyze what the child's doing. The child has to be accepted. So your child, you can't look at it in terms of anybody else's child. You can't look at it what society says a child. Your child has to be accepted on his or her own terms, in its own language and logic, by his own feelings. So you've got to allow just like a plant, you've got to allow your child to develop naturally using his or her own instincts. If you try to interrupt or interfere with what the child is doing, now you're gonna damage your bonding session with the child, because you're gonna cause a negative effect. It's just like if somebody's trying to drive a car and you keep putting your hand on the steering wheel, you know, you're gonna interfere with the child's natural process, you know. So you've got to allow the child to develop. You know, the child is coming from a spirit form, so you have to understand or understand that the child now is the nearest aspect to spirit. So the child has come from a spirit world, so the child is actually free. It's energy. The child is energy, so the child will play, the child will do things. It's coming from a spirit mentality, you know, where the energy is free. So you're going to see the child run up and down. The child's finding out about its environment. It has to learn how to find out about its environment. Remember, the child will be able to teach itself how to walk without no books, you know. The child has the ability to learn. It's the fastest way that a child is learning, when it's in its spirit state. So the child has to remember, the child is in its spirit state, and it has to adjust to a world where energy is concrete and fixed. You know, so the child will see a glass and they smash it down. You know, it will see a chair and jump on the chair and jump off the chair, because the child's used to being is a free spirit. You know, so you have to start to understand your child. You know. The child is free energy. That's getting used to fixed energy, you know. And this is, you have to bond with the child. So bonding is when you have a feeling to what the child's trying to do. Because at the time, most of the time, we're so busy that we don't take no notice of the child. The only time we notice the child is when the child is so-called having misbehavior. You know.
I just want to say that I never anybody put this together when you say that the child come from a free spirit. You know, free is just free, and yeah, I like where you put that. You know, yeah, turn the reasoning, yeah.
But the child will laugh, cry, jump, rip his clothes off. You know, it's got free energies. Energy's just flowing from the child.
Yeah, because it's got, don't show no fear. It's got energy, and it just free up him. Yeah, free spirit. So. Yeah, no, I can understand what you mean when you said that.
And that's the bonding, is you have to work with your child, not what you think the child's supposed to be doing. You have to work with the child, you know, just like a plant. You see what the child, and help the child to discover for itself. You don't interrupt and interfere, you know. So that's what you have to understand, because you're coming from a fixed state now. The child's coming from a free state, you know. Once the child enables itself to fix with a concrete object, then it can start to change to abstract. And another thing what you have to remember is the African child. So your child now, if your child has Menelin, yeah, it does things in rhythm, you know. Where an adult now, because you've been trained by society, you do things in non-rhythm called time. So you adult works in time, children work in rhythm. When you do something in time, it's the movement of the mind, body and spirit. So the child is moving with its mind, its body and spirit. Adults move on time. They're just moving with their body. You see, so as an adult, you start doing things in time, but the child is doing things in rhythm. You know, so you have to start to understand the workings of a child, because we've given our child away. You know, like you post a letter and you just pick up the package at the end. You know, you're running off to work, you give the child the food, you dress the child, you bathe the child, but you don't take any time out to see how is this child operating. You know, you take more care, you know more about the horse racing, you know more about the football match, you know more about the workings of the car or what clothes or your hair products than you do the moods and behaviors of your child.
You know, son, you're absolutely right. You know what I mean? And I'm glad to say you kind of bring it to our conscious. You know what I mean? To our, you know, to oneself, because you're absolutely right. You can't argue that. You know.
So the first thing to regenerate the child or have a productive child, you have to become a productive parent. You have to start working in a way that you're producing results, and not destructive, like cussing, you know, limiting the behavior, shouting, putting fear, or you know, putting fear in the child. So we've become destructive parents. That's why we have destructive children. You know, we're giving our parents away to some. You would never let somebody else wear your clothes. You know, but you let your child go to somebody else. You know, and then expect it to come back. You know, to know you. You know, when it's been around someone else most of the hours of the day. You know. And the next thing now, in accordance with Lala Africa again, we have to know how to communicate to the child. You know, shouting and cussing and slapping, that is not communication to a free spirit. You know, you wouldn't even treat a dog like that, because the dog would be fearful. You know, the dog would be nervous. The dog would, the dog would hyperventilate. The dog would have anxiety attack. But you're going to do that to a free spirit that's just exploring the planet for the first time. You know, what kind of effect are you going to have on your child if that's the kind of communication that you're giving to your child? There's three styles of communication. One is talking, which is just randomly, you know, just randomly having a chit chat. So you've got three ways you can. That's where there's no pressure. You know, you're just with your child, just having a general chat about anything. The next thing is teaching. So you can talk to your child. This is what we don't know. We've given our child away. We don't even understand the basics of communication with a child. So you can have a general talk to the child, how are you? Or you can teach the child. Teach the child where you do step by step. You know, you do things step by step. You know, it's like when you're putting on their clothes. You show them one part. Maybe you show them how to put the shoes on. Show them how to put the socks, then the trousers. And so you do step by step. That's teaching. So you can teach a child. You don't have to give it to a stranger to teach your child. You can teach your child, but that's doing things step by step. And remember, the child works off rhythm. So some child might take them 3 hours to do something. Some might do it in seconds. So you have to start to understand the rhythm of the free spirit that is your child. And the next way is treating. Treating is where you might, you know, give them a sweet, or you give them an emotion first, because you might find the talking ain't working because they're running up around. You know, the teaching ain't working because their mind's somewhere else. So you do the treating where you give them emotion. Preachers do this as well. So you give them an emotion. I know Doug is good at it. How do you inspire emotion? Because I know that's how you work up the crowd, you know. Can you give us some of your technique, you know, or what you see from Les Brown? How does he get people worked up, or the preachers, you know?
Well, what I would say is that if you look at someone like Les Brown, no, he took so much power, but he talks from experience, and what Les Brown does, he's got that kind of energy. So you present the energy, and that's how you get the crowd worked up. But you know the technique you have to work on, and just. But it's all about energy and get them to feel smart, make them feel good, and everything, and you know, yeah, and that's how you work out the energy. Yeah, go on.
And we're gonna go into emotions a bit later on as well. So once again, you've got to learn how to communicate. You have to be productive in your communication, because that's another thing that the youths are saying. You know, that the adults, they don't listen to the adults don't listen to them. There's no communication, because we're always telling them what to do. We're never listening to what they have to say. You know, so once again, you can talk, teach, or treat, which is inspire emotions. Then you have to remember your child has different listening styles. You know, so there's 3 ways you can talk to them, but remember your child has different. You have to work out, is this when your child is not hearing you, it's because not the child, it's because you do not understand the listening process of your children. You know, you haven't taken time to do the science, you know. As I said, you know all the clothes, you know all the hair products, but you haven't taken time to understand the science of your child. So so some children have listen for information, so they're picking up what to do, you know, how to do things. So you've got the childs that are listening for information, plus they can switch, the styles can switch. Or you've got enhancer styles, so the child might be listening to, how can this make me do something better? You know, so you've got the information, the child that wants to pick up things, information. You've got the child that enhances, is looking for how can I do this better? You know, how can I paint better? How can I run better? Then you've got the critical child, the child that's going to have a debate with you. You know, the child, because that's how that child processes information. He wants to debate with you, because the child's got his own idea of doing things. You know, so you've got to take in all the styles, and plus the listening style might change as the child gets, as the energy gets older. You know, the child might change from being information to having a debate. You know, so that's a way of understanding the child. So yes, Dougie, have you found anything interesting what I have to say there?
No, but you see, I'm glad to say you bring it to the table, because these are kind of thinking or thought-provoking and critical thinking. We need to start approach, because information is very vital, especially we're talking about the our babies, even start of the womb, right? That's where they're learning and caring. Education starts from forming a language, a bond, you know. See, so Jones, what you're saying, you know what I mean? You're absolutely on point, you know. I know that's quite a lot of information was got from Layla, and probably, well, I imagine from Layla and so forth, you know. And that's it. They're the man who was really do a lot of work, you know, from a holistic approach.
Yeah, we have to go back to the greats to, you know, to crack this, you know, destructive behaviour, because, you know, modern day society is not producing the potential of our youth to greatness, you know. So we've got to go back to the greats, you know, Lala Africa, you know, Amos Wilson. You know, they've already done the research for us, but we don't study the books. We talk about the people, but we don't study the books, you know. But the templates are in the books, you know.
And I'm glad to see you mention that, because coming to Dr. Africa, and we need to do a whole show around Dr. Africa, because he's been around for more than probably about 50 years, I reckon, right? Probably 50 years, well, more than 40 years anyway. 45 years, probably about touching 50. And don't forget, when he started off his journey on health, there was nobody around. In fact, he was saying when Dick Gregory, well, bless his soul now, he's joined the ancestors, but when Dick Gregory was around, you know, Dick Gregory's a health fanatic, jammers.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Nah, man, he's wonderful. See, I know Dick Gregory through the health.
Right.
He done a book. I can't remember what it's called again, right? And it was a heavy book talking about health. I didn't know nothing about health, but you was hear his name. But he, you know, them men are fast for 40 years or something, something like that, you know, in those days there, you know. But don't forget, right? when he's sick, yes, who does he see? Dr. Layla Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And Layla's he's not really a public person, you know. And he just happens that he's got so much great talent, great, brains, and he had to put something on paper, right? And so he could share it with the people, But amazing individual.
And what you have to remember about Dr. Lala Africa, he's self-taught. So some of the greats are self-taught, so basically you can teach yourself to be a great parent that produces productive children and regenerate your family. Once again, this is an introduction to, we'll be covering this topic over a couple of weeks. He's regenerating the family. Once again, the basics of it is your child is a free spirit. You have to start to study your child first. You get to know your child like you know your shoes and your clothes and your car, and your football team, So you have to start to study your child now, and then you have to work out how to communicate with your child. You have to work out the listening styles. Remember, we said there's three listening styles. Information, does your child take information? Are they enhanced? Are they looking for things that make them better? Or do they like to debate? Are they critical? Then the child has thinking styles. You have to check your child. So you have to know, like you're backing a horse in the shop. You have to know, or the football team, how you're calculating in the bookie shop. You have to know your child. Right, there's thinking style. There's the idealistic thinking style where the child is looking for the perfection, maybe unrealistic because it's trying to do something to perfection, and it might even start crying because it can't get to that perfect state. So you have the idealistic child that thinks in a certain way. You got the child that harmonizes. So that's the child that tries to keep everybody happy. Like they don't like to see arguing. Like they're looking after their brother, and their sister. So you've got the harmonizer who's thinking in the harmony. Then you've got you've got the critical, the critical child that's going to critique you or analyze you. Remember their energy, so they're developing. So you have to encourage all of these thinking styles. Then you've got the realistic child. The realistic child, he's not looking for perfection, and it will, if you can't buy the toy that it wanted, this child will be cool. So you got to analyze, just like people know they know their star sign, but they don't know what style of thinking their child's got. Astrology. They know their star sign, but they won't know their child's listening style. They won't know the best communication style to give to their child. They won't know the thinking style of their child. And also there's learning types, which everybody knows. You've got the audio. Some children learn through hearing something, like a loud, and you talk with the loud bang. They'll get that because it's the sound. Or there'll be visual sound. The lightning flashed. So they'll get the sight in the talking, or you get the rhythm, the rain soaked through me, So there's three styles of learning. What the child might have a greater ability. Once again, with rain, the lightning flash. That's the visual learning. Child will get that. There was a loud bang of thunder. The audio child will get that, or the rain soaked through me. That's the rhythm child. Then you've got learning types, so that's the three learning types. Then you've also got learning styles. So there's learning styles. So some children, when you see them playing, this is the way you see how they learn. Some children like to do things in sequence, step by step. So they put one brick on top of the other, on top of the other. So some children learn by that. Some children are random. 1 minute they're playing with brick, then they're playing with a cup, then they're playing with their shoes, then they're pulling down paper. So they're random learners. But this is all accessing knowledge. Once again, remember they're free spirits, so they're going to be causing havoc because they're around fixed energy. So they're going to have to learn how to maneuver with the fixed energy. Then you've got children who learn through concrete, so that means you've got to show them something first, and then they will learn it. And then you've got the abstract child where you explain something to them, and they will learn it. So you've got 4 learning styles. Yes, for the child that you have to work out. Just like your star sign, you have to know how to communicate to your child. You have to know their listening styles. You have to know their thinking styles. You have to learn their learning type, and you have to know their learning styles. So this is the basics of having bonding with your child. Working with your child rather than having a battle with your child.
Right. Okay then. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna play some more of this recording.
And then after the break, then we're going to go into some proper stuff, you know. So we're going to go into a little higher knowledge.
I had an ulcer, different things, and I was in for quite a long amount of time when they realised I'd had something to eat because I couldn't eat. I had a line fitted through my neck, it came out here, and it was TPN. I had to be fed through liquid, and I had an operation to remove the ovary because they'd realised through a CT scan that I had ovarian cancer, but that's all I thought I had. So I went home, went back the next week for the operation. I went in and they removed the ovary. They prepared me for a stoma, and they'd done biopsies. And they didn't know if I'd need a hysterectomy. They didn't know where it was at this point.
At its worst, how bad was it?
Oh, I had 6 weeks to live without treatment.
And it had gone?
It was all secondary, what this is. It was in my small bowel, which was inoperable, incurable. I had 3 big tumours in there. The whole of my stomach was speckled in spots of cancer.
What were you told?
Basically, it wasn't operable. It wasn't curable. Chemo might buy me time. Hopefully, they'd be able to get me eating before I died.
Oh, my gosh,
So
how horrible for you.
I left. I went back up to the ward. I just wanted to get out of the hospital. I went to the pub with my friend, my best friend, Annette, and I just sat outside the Red Line in my pyjamas. I had a PICC line in my arm here at this point, which eventually got sepsis with my first lot of chemo.
Oh, gosh.
And then I carried on. My friends had researched the oil from Rick Simpson.
So this is Rick Simpson. He claimed that his
He's the
skin
man.
cancer was cured by taking this cannabis
He was the
oil.
founder of it that realised that it actually cures cancer, and it's the THC that eats the cancer.
And
So
this is the bit that's
they
illegal.
won't. I don't know why they won't legalise it here when
Because
it is
this is the
legal
bit
in
that
other
produces
countries.
the high.
Yes.
So that's
And
that's
people are far worse drunk, aren't they? Really, if people are going out drinking, they're in more trouble than they are because this makes you really relaxed, chilled, sleep.
However, the first time you tried it,
I was giggly.
yes,
But not aggressive. It's never made me, like, if you can have a drink, people are aggressive, they fight, but this has never made me feel aggressive.
Yeah, so we're back on the other side. It was about talking about cancer, and it was saying about the emotion effect as well.
Yeah, well, you know, it can. Well, sometimes it can be very much the emotion side of stuff, you know. And when we talk about emotion. Oh, let me tie this down very quickly. That, for example, if there's something you haven't got rid of, what's happened in the past, you haven't forgive or haven't let go. Could be things like you remember when your dad told you off, or could be your loved one, you know, some of your first love, you know, broke your heart and stuff. What I'm saying, if you hold on to all that kind of that stuff there, right, and that stuff tends side of it, that can cause cancer. So a lot of stuff we have is things we're having, a lot of emotional stuff as well, you know. Well, that emotion, what we have is slightly different, but when you have cancer, it does affect you emotionally, see? And the point I'm trying to make is that when you hold on to a lot of these stuff there, right, it's like enemies, hold on to them, it can affect the cancer. So, I know you're going to be touching a little bit about emotion side of stuff, but I've got to touch the cancer because, you know, you find some people emotionally unstable.
And
Yeah,
well, the
into
key,
bad health, yeah.
what Dougie and what we're saying is in relation to lack of knowledge produces the emotion called fear. You know, so why we're here is to give you the knowledge to reduce the fear, because fear is one of the most destructive emotional tools that you can have. When you're fearful of something, it actually can cause you to cry alkaline tears. You know, when you are joyous, acid. It can make you actually pull turn your body becomes acidic. You know, and your focus diminishes. It goes to one fixed point. So if somebody like a dog barks at you and you become fearful of the dog, your focus is just on the dog. You know, so your focus diminishes, and you might do something irrational because you've lost your sense of focus. You know, but when you're joyous, you can see all around you. You can maneuver. You know, you can move up and down. But when this emotion catches you, you know, you lose your focus and you become fixed on the fear factor, and you become acidic. You know, the fear is the emotional tool of Western domination. You know, it's what this society uses. You know, to rule the planet. It uses fear, and emotions rule the world, not intellect. You know. So someone could reason that, you know, that girl's trouble or that man's trouble, but the emotion's gonna make you 2 seconds later you're in a relationship with that person. You know. So the key factor is now is to you need to learn how your operating system works. Once you know how your operating system works, then you can reprogram your operating system, and you can set the emotion in action rather than becoming emotional.
Well, I'm glad to see you said this to look at how the emotions work, you know, because once you understand how your emotion work, you can be in control of your emotions, control of yourself. I mean, for example, James, you know, you look at certain men or women who stab their wife or stab their husband because of what? High emotions, something just blow up and on them, something there, right? And you look at certain people just freak out, they turn alcoholic and not take alcohol, they probably take a gun and shoot everybody. What's right? They're not in control of their self and their emotion. Because like now, the self and emotion, they're like one.
And that's it, basically, because once you, even on when it comes to the language, see, once you don't understand the Latin, then you're not going to know the science. If you don't know the science, you can't read medical books to understand your operating system. You can't read physics books to understand the physics. You can't process the law books to understand the law. You notice that anybody who's maybe reasonably like Africa is an expert in medicine. They can conduct themselves with medicine, that they don't get ill. Anybody who's an expert with law, they can stay out of trouble because they're an expert in law. Anybody who's an expert in biophysics, they know what to do. You know, so until we break through this dumbed down language called English and process Latin, then we're not going to be able to access the science of who we are. Because the science of who we are is in the Latin, which relates to the biological process, the anatomy or the physiology, which is the nature of us. So basically, our intelligence runs off neurons. Neurons are the cells in us that communicate. We have 100 billion neurons in us that are communicating. One neuron can be communicating with 2,000 other neurons in one time. This means we have about 1 trillion communicating neurons in us at any given moment. So we've got 1 trillion cells talking to each other. That's the powerhouse that we've got. So we have to know what to focus on so that they talk about the right things.
Absolutely.
You know, because we've got information. We're a bundle of information. Your foot is talking to your hand is talking to your eye socket, your mouth is talking to the thoughts in your head. So this is the key element that we need to know, that we have got to put ourselves in the right environment so that our cells are talking about the right things.
The right thing. Boy, Jammers, you on form, my brother, on form. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play... What was recording here?
Killing cancer cells. And it doesn't take
This
much to
ties
get
into what
behind
Jammer's talking
on
about.
killing cancer cells. So, if you develop a tumor and all of these cancer cells, then you take a cannabinoid supplement. Then these cannabinoids go and in the circulation and mate with these receptors of the cancer cells, which produces a flood of ceramide. Now, because the DNA of cancer cells is distorted.
Right, now we're going into some high esoteric science now. So now we're talking about first the child, knowing the child. Then we talked about the cancer, and we talked about, you know, the emotional effect. Now we're going into the science of what emotion is and what habit creation is, what creates the habits, what creates the emotion, what makes you move into move in a certain way that you can't even control. So basically, what happens once again? We say we've got 100 billion neurons. Neurons is information. So you've got information passing through your body at a rapid rate. So at any given moment, you've got 1 trillion neurons communicating. So you've got to be careful what environment you put yourself in, because these neurons are going to talk about it whether you like it or not. When your neurons start talking, like I'll give you an example. You're thirsty. You buy some whiskey. So basically, your neurons have said, this man's thirsty. All over your foot, telling your hand, telling the tongue, telling the water in your mouth to dry up, because the man thirsty. Your eyes see whiskey. So then you say, I'm thirsty, let me pick up this bottle of whiskey. So your brain is saying, thirst, whiskey. The man is thirsty, give him whiskey. So what's happening is now you've got 1 trillion cells knowing that when you're thirsty, get the man to whiskey. This causes a process called automacity. 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 So automacity is you've been thirsty, you say whiskey. You got 1 trillion cells saying when this man is thirsty, get him a whiskey. So what's going to happen is now, the next time you feel thirsty, the automaticity of your body is going to create whiskey like magic. You're not even going to have a whiskey, you're going to feel the whiskey, you're going to taste the whiskey, you can even smell the whiskey, till the next thing you know you've got a whiskey in the hand.
Yes, true.
The same thing with a cigarette. You get nervous, you smoke. You got 1 trillion things telling you when this man is anxious, smoke a cigarette. So before you know it, your body's got a cigarette in its mouth because it's magically made you smell it, see it, feel it, and hear it. You know, so this is the magic of your body, that you've got 1 trillion communicating cells. Your eyes, your nose, your mouth. I'll tell you each one individually so you don't make mistake. You've got so many different things that is creating a magic image in your head, like it's actually, you feel that you're drinking whiskey before you drink the whiskey. You know, you feel you're smoking before you smoke. You're moving to the girl before you even thinking of moving to the girl, because this is what is happening to you through your neurons. You know, it's beyond your, as we say, emotion is more powerful than intellect, because the neurons is causing emotion. Inside the neuron, you have protein, you have energy, and you have electricity. So when your neurons are communicating, it's producing all this listen, and you can't move against electricity. Your brain can't stop the electricity. You know what I mean? You see, so this is the power that you're walking communication. Right, let me just see now. I'm just gonna go into, okay. Yeah, you've got 2 types of emotion as well. So this is where you've got to be careful what your surroundings in. You've got excitation. When you get excited and you do something, you know, and then you've got inhibition that stops you doing something. So you've got 2 types. One emotion, you see a girl, you want to run to her, and another emotion, you see a big dog, you want to move away. So you've got to be careful again what environment you put yourself in. If you've got an environment that's too negative, you're going to be shutting yourself down all the time. You see what I'm saying? You know, so you've got to put yourself in an environment where you're excited, you're moving towards things, you're communicating in a joyous way. Because what we do is say, if you're communicating in a fear environment, you're going to produce, your body's going to become acidic. You know. So this is the power that you've got. You've got 1 trillion communicative cells that anything you focus on, they're gonna change your whole body structure towards it. They're gonna create a reality so real that you don't even need the whiskey. You know, what? You in your bed, you're running out. You know.
But you see, you know, so you're so much on point there that I can't add or take away anything. You know, and you know, I like the way you broke it down to us. Simple, even in a rhythm, in a rhyme. The whiskey, you come thirsty and so, and it makes so much sense for you was talking about, you know. And you want to be first with the whiskey, and I'm thirsty. And
It creates the actual, like magic. Whatever you move to, your body's actually created it. Because you can feel it. People when they smoke, they can already feel the cigarette.
Yeah.
They can feel the thought of whiskey in their head before they've taken the whiskey.
True.
Without them even wanting to think about it, because they've got 1 trillion cells talking about this thing.
True.
And your one mind's going to try and stop 1 trillion cells.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
Right.
So you got some more information?
Yeah, right. Let me break down. So I said we've got a different intelligences communicating all the time. So I'm going to break down some of the intelligence. So you see, I'm not talking garbage. I mean, not with my talk about. So the first thing that you've got, and plus it makes you conscious of what you are. You're not a man. You know, you're more than a man. You're a multi-universe. It's not one universe. It's a multi-universe. That's what you are, because there's so much different. You've got your blood system. You got your nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than one system running at the same time. You've got your air system running. So it's not one. It's a multi-universe. So basically, you've got what they don't tell you about. You've got teloreceptors. Telo means that you can pick up things from a distance. So your receptors respond to your hearing, the things that you hear and the things that you see. You know, you've got the power to pick up things from a distance through your teloreceptors. Then you've got contact receptors. So contact receptors, if you touch anything, you can tell what the things are. So you've got your teloreceptors for what you see and hear. You've got your contact receptors that respond to stimulation that touch the body. So emotion. So something touches you, you get emotional. You get the hard touch on your hand, you get emotional. You get the soft touch, you get emotional. One, you get excited by it. Once, you get inhibited by it. The same with your eyes or your ears. A loud sound, you're going to shut down. You see something you like, your eyes are going to get excited. So this is the emotional. You're actually a walking ball of emotion. Right. So once that's the two you got. So you got emotion that comes from your eyes and your ears. You got emotion that comes from when you touch something. Then you got chemoreceptors. So you become emotional to chemicals. You know, you might drink something like whiskey and the chemical make you feel great. So even the chemical you're emotional towards through your chemoreceptors. Then you've got photoreceptors. So you're emotional towards light. You see a bright Ferrari, you get emotional towards the Ferrari. So this is how sensitive we are. This is why we've got to be careful what environment we put ourselves in front of. So you've got your teloreceptors, which is distance. You've got your contact receptors, which is touch. You've got your chemoreceptors, which is chemical. Then you've got your photoreceptors, which is light. Then you've got your thermoreceptors, which is heat. You know, when the sun comes, you feel great. When the winter comes, that's excitation. When the winter comes, you become inhibited. You get inhibited. So that's that next emotion relating to heat. So there's so much different types of emotion. Then you've got the mechanoreceptors. Now, mechanoreceptors works with mechanics. Your mechanics, how you move around. So you know, you can feel if you've got a stiff leg. You know, you can feel if you've got some muscle. You can feel if you've got a stomach ache. So your mechanoreceptors is mechanics. Mechanics is not a machine. Mechanics is force plus ratio. So you can feel the force of something, or the force and motion. So you can feel, you get emotional. But when you see Usain Bolt run fast, you're getting emotional about it. You know, or when you're walking slow up a hill, you get emotion about it. You know, so you got so much different ways of emotion. Then the next, so once again, teloreceptor, which is distance. Then you got the contact receptor, which is when you feel something on your body. Chemoreceptors, which is chemicals. Photoreceptors, which is light. You got the thermoreceptors, which is you get emotional over heat. You get emotional over speed, motion, and the next one is nociceptors, which is pain. That's another thing you get emotional. So you got all these ways that you can become excited or you can become fearful. So this is why you got to be careful, especially what environment you're putting yourself into.
Right.
And listen to this. I got this from Siam. Environmental. So your mind goes into whatever. Viral means life. Whatever life you put yourself in front of, it's going to affect your mind. something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen in your mind wherever you put yourself. So then people who wanna, and the next thing about it, the problem is it activates a dopamine. That's the next one. So basically, when you have the whiskey, it gives you a feeling, that gives you some excitation. So then it becomes an addiction. So you go to a horror movie, you get nervous, that excites a dopamine. So then you get addicted to gonna want to watch another movie. So anything that you do, you can become addicted to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but that's part of, that's me on that one there. You know what I mean?
Okay then. So that was Jam just breaking it down to us, nice and simple and easy. Jammarsta, you really do have a talent. Where you get that talent from, man?
No, it's studying, man. It's all about the studying, man. Yes, you have to just keep on. And it's the word breaking down. I just realised that words are code. Everything's a code. So once you know everything's a code, then you can break. What they do to you, they make everything complicated. You know, so you don't understand the code. You've been taught. Tautology is when you say the same thing in different ways.
Say that again. Repeat that again.
Tautology is when you say the same thing in different ways. It's not giving you the science. It's just giving you another word. Like when you go to a dictionary, you're not getting any science. You just get another word. You know, you get another word. So the only way that you can find out what something is to go in, because if you look at any science, there's no other word. It's one word. In law, if you say the wrong word, you're gonna get convicted. If you say the right word, you're gonna be innocent. So if you can't make a wrong move when you're a surgeon. You can't say this wrong word when you're a surgeon because you're gonna cut off the wrong thing. You know, when you're flying a plane, you can't be even a second out, because so why are we getting taught? Because taught is when you're just shown 4 or 5 different ways of doing something instead of the one way. You're not shown the precise translation. You're shown 5, then that leads to thought. Because thought is when you're trying to work out which is the right way. Because when you've been taught through tautology, it leads to thought, which means you have to think about something rather than just do it. You see what I'm saying? So they're actually dumbing you down. They're dumbing you down every time you go to school and you're getting taught. You know, you're not shown the right way. You're shown about 4 or 5 different ways.
Okay, then we play some recording, and then we're going to the
Crazy marketing that's out there surrounding CBD. I can totally understand why Facebook, why YouTube, why so many different media properties and media buying properties have made it so difficult to advertise. And that has to do with the fact that people are really utilizing CBD in the wrong way, and they're marketing it poorly, and they're flat out lying. So this video is just a general overview to help you understand what happens in the body and why it does so. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel. If you have ideas for future videos, let me know in the comment section. I'll see you soon.
Right, so once again, I hope you're getting some, because I don't want to just talk or preach. That's what it's not about, talking or preaching. Them days is done now. It's hopefully you want to get some information that you can actually use to activate your higher senses. This is what it's all about. So from what I've been saying is now you've got a massive communication, so you can actually self-program yourself, because anything that you show your body to do, it will magically make it happen. You know, it will magically make it happen, and you'll be doing it without even thinking about it. Just like when you drive your car. You can drive your car, and you can be talking to someone. You can be looking at the shops. Even though you're not supposed to, you can be on your phone. You don't even have to think, and you find out you've already gone from London to Birmingham, and you don't even have to think what to do, because your body you program your body to do something without your thought process interfering with it.
I just want to say, Jammarsta, if people want to get give me more information in terms of what I'm trying to say, what books would you recommend those who want to come to journey or come to a certain level? I mean, just recommend some books. Yeah.
Well, Lala Africa, any book by Lala Africa. Really, you want to start reading them big books, the law books. You want to be starting, because that's one thing you got to read, the books on anatomy, physiology, science and physics. And what you need to do is break down. You need to start to learn the Latin words. Once you know the Latin word in what the Latin word means in law, then you can work out what it means in science. Then you can work out what it means in physiology. Then you can work out what it means in anatomy. And Latin, they say, is a dead language. It's a dead language, but it comes alive when it becomes to the sciences. Because when you start looking at Latin in the sciences, it tells you what things really mean. That the front of something is called an anterior. The back of something is called a posterior. You know, the something that's across is transverse. You know, you start to know what words really are and not what they mean. Because mean is an average. Mean doesn't give you nothing. Explain means to leave you plain. You know, so when you start to look at the sciences, you start to find out what the words really mean. I mean, I can give you some of the words. I'll give you some basic breakdowns of what the words are. Right, let me find a couple of words for you now. This is from a medical book. You know, to show you that you don't even know what the word means. The letter A, when it's in front of something, not by itself, but when it's in front of a word, it means without. So A doesn't mean A. A really means without. You know. Ab means away from something. When you see AB, they don't tell you that. You just see it as AB. But AB together means away from something. Abduct means when something's been taken away. Absent, that means when something's been taken away. So they're not even teaching you what these codes are. Once again, when you see AB together, you think it's AB, but it's not. It means to move something away. Abduct, absent. You see, so basically another one is AD. When you see AD together, it means to move towards something. So you admire something, so you're going to move towards it. When you get admitted to something, you're going to move towards it. Advance means you're going to move towards it. They're not showing you that AD together means to move towards something. They're just showing you AD. They're not telling you. So basically, when you're looking at this language, you don't really, you know nothing about what these letters are. You know, because they're not giving you the code. They're just giving you a meaning. They're giving you an average. And when you go into a law court, when you go into a medical school, when you go into physics, you find that you don't know nothing. You've got the language of a minor. That's why they call you a minority. They're teaching you the language of a child. Not science. There's no science in nouns. Every time you hear a noun, it just means to call something. There's no science in a noun. A noun means to like announce. That's when you call something. Pronounce. That's when you call something. There's no science in the word. So now you have to start to look at the Latin and look at the verbs to get the science. Once you've got the science of something, then you know who you really are and how you operate. It's like if you don't know the science of a car, you can't fix the car. You can only drive in it till it mashed down. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't know the science of who you are, you can only use yourself till you break down, because till you get sick, till you get worn out, you know, till you think correctly. You don't know the science of who. If you don't know the science of who you are, you don't know who you are.
Okay, another short break.
Oh, grateful, I'm so grateful. So I want to say thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful,
The
this
track
beautiful day.
is entitled Thank You for This Day. This is something that I want you to. Yeah, this is it coming through?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just checking if I can be heard. Yep. Say thank you for this day. This is something I want you to start to get into access. Once again, this is not no preaching or talk. This is now the real deal starting from now. If you want to get into your higher senses, what you need to do in the morning is to remember that you've got potential. Potential means that you can perform at a higher level that you think you can perform. So when you wake up in the morning, you got to meditate that you have the potential that you don't even know about to perform at a more efficient level. You've got the potential to do something greater than you thought you could do today. You know, so when you wake up in the morning, always remember you have potential in you that's not activated. You've got potential in you that you can do things at a greater level than you think you can. You know, you can perform your task today at a higher level than you think you can. You can read books that you thought you couldn't read by accessing your potential. So you've got a part of you that is great, that can make you perform greater than you think you can perform. So now is this time for you to start accessing your potential. When you start to meditate, you've got a potential. That means you've got the ability to perform at a higher level. You can even put your clothes on at a better level than you did. You know, it's a potential. Start to access your potential.
Well, I wanna just say thank you now, just thank you now, thank you now, thank you now, thank you now, thank you now. Each and every day I'm gonna say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, Dougie. Once again, we started off by talking about regenerating the child. We regenerating meaning making your child more productive. You've got to make yourself more productive. We tapped in the source of Lala Africa, and we was talking about the child is a free energy that's getting used to fixed energy. You know, so you have to, just like you know the horses, you know your horoscope. You have to start to study the child and work with your child, so you can have a productive environment, not a destructive environment. So there's various ways that you can talk to your child. You know, talking, teaching, or treating. You know, learn your child's listening skills, listening styles. You know, learn their learning styles. You know, Then we talked about cancer. You know, which Dougie's got some. You want to tell people about what the products that you've got?
Okay then. Well, I'm trying to encourage people to take the cannabis oil, because it's very powerful drug, and if you take it over a period of time, definitely over 60 days, and the more stages of cancer you have, right, you will reverse your cancer by eating healthy and stop taking the poison in your body, you know. So I've been playing it on the radio, so I'm encouraging people to go online, do your research, and do the other thing about cancer. Check the other thing about cancer. Do your research. You must do your research. See. And also we touched on the great man, Dr. Africa, who to me is one of the best out there in the world. And look at his works, what he's about, and we call him the Honourable Dr. Africa. So we looked at him and his beautiful wife, his Princess Queen, Marilyn Stevenson. You know, she works right beside Dr. Africa. So yeah, we've got a lot to say about Dr. Africa. We must do a show, whole thing about Dr. Africa. But Jammers, you know, this is a master show.
Yeah, respect every time. As I say, it's time to access your higher level and access your potential. That means you've got the ability to do things greater than you even thought you did. As I said, we went on to cancer, emotion. We talked about the science of emotion through your neurons. You know, how your neurons create habits and how you can start to program yourself. You know, So it's the magic of your communication that you can actually create whiskey without no whiskey being there, and the next thing you're running and whiskey. It's the magic that you can drive a car, you know, without even thinking about driving a car.
Whiskey, thirsty, then first.
I didn't even realize I was saying it right. When you're thirsty, then your body say whiskey.
Okay.
You know, and when your body, you got a trillion communication cells going on, producing protein, electricity, and energy. Just on that one thought processes of being thirsty, you are whiskey. And the next thing you know, you can feel the whiskey. But every time you get thirst, your body's saying whiskey, and you got a trillion things telling you whiskey. That's why it's no your emotion moves you more than your reasoning.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
You know. So now we're gonna go on to the next level, which is once again the English language. The problem with the English language is that the people who put it in place, the system that we're using now, they were not Egyptologists, you know, and plus they felt superior. When a country's ruling, when someone's ruling, they're not going to give credit to the people they're ruling over. So the system of the English language is there's a block in relation to the import that African and Kemet put in the language. Now, language is consciousness. So when you're talking with language, English language, you're always going to have the consciousness of the English, of the person who created the English language. So basically, the way we have to access our higher self, our melanated self, is becoming conscious of the African essence of the language, you know, to release our power at our higher level. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the hieroglyphs, and we're going to talk about the sounds, the ancient sounds that are being used today to activate our consciousness. Because as I said, the words we're using now are dumbing us down because there's no reasoning in there. Why these letters make that action? There's no reason in it. There's no reasoning in the letter. So basically, we're going to take the sound of light, which in Kemet was called Ra. So you will see that sound is still evident in the language. They have not created anything new. They're just using what we've given them. So radiator, you see, produces heat just in the word light. Ray, which comes like has the Ra sound in it. You know, radio, which produces a sound over a distance, just like the sun producer, has the Ra sound in it. In the word pray, the middle of the word pray is the word Ra, because you're praying for light. You're praying to access a solution to the problem. So inside the word pray, you'll see the word ray. Inside the word ray is the word Ra. Now you look at your brain. Inside the word brain, after the B, you've got the Ra is in you. So basically, your brain sees things because you can see things in your mind from the light, so you can close your eyes and see things. So you've got a light in your brain. Look at the word brain, you see the word Ra in it, be Ra. Also, when you talk, because you're operating off a light system, you're producing solid light of a vibration when you talk. That's why it's called oral. Oral. So oral. So when you orate or you talk, it's called oral. So you've got the Ra inside the way you talk. And inside your ear actually is called an oracle. Or oracle is part of your ear. So basically, an oracle is when you can hear things. When someone tells you something, so your brain's got a part of the ear is called an oracle. So you've got oral and oracle. So basically, you have an aura about you, and you speak to an audience with an audio signal in an auditorium. And to think, you use an audit. So your audit, when you calculate something, is an audit. And also, you calculate, so basically everything's a calculation. So you look, when you're making a payment, it's done in voices. You talk in voices, and you have an invoice when you make a payment, because you're working of a calculation from the audit of the auditorium, from the light that you bring into your brain cell. Thank you. So now we're going to go into basically the sound. There's certain sounds that use in ancient Kemet, that once we can associate those sounds with the language, you'll be able to activate our higher consciousness. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the hieroglyphs. So the hieroglyph is another esoteric higher knowledge, a way of you can activate your higher self, because basically all language was there to activate you, to make you activate your potential to move at an optimal level. So the first sound that you see representing the letter A, because the Greeks will say A or English will say A, but what does A mean? They say alpha, but what does alpha mean? And then they come to a close because they don't know what alpha means, even though they say that the Indo-European has created a language, or the language come from an Aryan source, they still do not know what the letter means when you get to the letter A and when you get to alpha. So when you turn the A upside down, you see it relates to the ox's head. The ox's head relates to strength. So the ox's head relates to strength, and you get strength when you breathe in air. It's called oxygen. Gen in Latin is a Latin word to produce strength. So every time you breathe in air, you're getting strength. You're producing strength. To produce something is gen, and you're producing strength is ox. So oxygen means you're generating strength. This is what they knew in ancient Kemet. That's why they used the ox's head to represent A, because A represents your first breath of air. And also then they used the vulture, because if you look at a diagram of the human body, it looks like a vulture's head. When you see the tube running through the mouthpiece, you'll see it little head, and the wings are actually the lungs. So if you look at the inner body, you'll see it looks like a vulture, and a vulture also represents the cycle of life and death, because it eats food before it rots, before the food oxidizes. Just how you breathe in air and you breathe out carbon monoxide. So you're operating of the cycle of life and death, just like the vulture. So basically when they talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, they're talking about you. You are actually the creator and the created, and the energy that created yourself. They should also be talking about the Mother, the Daughter, and the Holy Spirit, because we create through air like the vulture creates from life and death, and we are also the created as well. So that's why they use the vulture to signify air, because is the first sound that you make. So the is the first air intake, just like Z is Z, because that's the air leaving your body. So basically what happens is you breathe in air like the vulture, and you get the strength, because the vulture takes the food before it oxidizes, and the ox is a symbol of strength. So oxygen means when you breathe in, you produce strength through the oxygen. That goes into your lung cell, and your lung gives you the power to lunge. Lunge is a momentum. So you move with your mind. Tum is your tummy. Your tummy is, you look at the first three words of the word tum is the store. Then you've got ma, as in mechanics. Mechanics is not really metal, it's force and motion. So basically when you're breathing in the air, it gives you the power to ventilate. What does the ox do? It works, it tills the soil. So you cause a ventilation because you vent. And when you vent and you move through the momentum, you cause an event. So the event is a happening of your cycle of life. Boom. Respect.
All is well. I am well. All is well. All is well. I am well. All is well. All is well.
I didn't even read that. I just head top it. Oh yeah. Also, through breathing, you can be elated or deflated, which is called, as I said, ventilation. So just through your breathing, you can create a high level of emotion or a low level of emotion. This is the power that comes through your breath. Once again, we're talking about your neurons. So just your thought process, once again, it communicates to your body. So really, your power of thought activates anything that you see. Once again, we said environmental. Your physical world is just like your dream world. You can be in a dream and anything's possible. You can be in a physical and anything's possible. You know, you could be in the most scariest situation but be happy because it's all environmental. everything is generated by your thought processes. Once you know that, then you can be free of any form of emotion, because you can set things in motion. And that's me. I think I burnt myself out now, you know. So respect to all the listeners. Hope you took some information in, you know, and put it in a formation that can optimize your potential. Boom.
Okay then. So we're gonna ease off now, and there'll be a show after the show.
You are the face of love, the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love, the face of love. You are the face of love, the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love, the face of love. You are the face of God, the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are a part of me, a part of me. You are the face of God, the face of God. You are the face of God. Eres la luz de Dios. I hold you in my heart. Eres la cara del amor. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.